Hello, this is Wiley from Learn to Barbecue. This video is all about umami brisket. Also, here's my new booze cutting board. Now I have plenty of room for this whole packer brisket. I picked up this brisket at Sam's Club. Here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, Sam's Club is one of the few places where you can buy a whole packer brisket. This one is a Black Angus Choice whole packer. It was a little over 15 pounds. Price was $3 a pound for a total price of $48.91. So let's get this brisket ready for the grill. First thing is we need to get rid of all the hard fat. Hard fat will not render, so you have to get rid of it. Each brisket is different. This one has a pocket on the side of the point that is all hard fat. As you see my pile of fat grow, this can sometimes reduce the weight of the brisket by a couple of pounds. A properly trimmed brisket will not only look better, it will actually taste better. Eating a big piece of hard fat that you thought was meat is not any fun. Trimming a brisket can be time-consuming, and you really should take your time. As we move to the fat cap side of the brisket, we want to leave the cap in place, but trim it so it's about 1/4 inch thick. Now the big question, fat cap up when cooking or fat cap down? I always cook fat cap down, especially on a pellet grill. The only way you're going to get the crust or bark on the brisket is by exposing the meat to the convection heat of the pellet grill. That cannot happen if the fat is rendering on top of the meat, or in other words, dripping down. Also, the fat does not make meat moist. Only water can do that. You can now see I'm removing the silver skin, for it will also not render and needs to be removed. After trimming, it's time to add the rub, and I always use a large foil pan to do that. The rub is very simple. Montreal steak seasoning. Basically salt, pepper, garlic, and a few extra things like onion and paprika. I put it on in 2 layers. First layer is to get the salt into the meat, and then the second layer so we can make that crust or bark that we all desire on a brisket. The foil pan keeps the rub contained so more rub gets on the brisket and not all over the kitchen. If you have the time, let the rub sit on the brisket for at least an hour. Now it's time to make the umami enhancers injection. We will be using fish sauce, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup, tamari sauce, and one other ingredient. We start off with 1 cup of ketchup that is already in the bowl. We then add 1/2 cup of water. Two tablespoons of tamari sauce. Two tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, 1 large tablespoon of umami powder. It is actually not a powder, but just very small pieces of shiitake mushrooms. Now mix thoroughly so the umami powder is fully dissolved in the sauce. Now we get the injector. This one has a larger tube, so I have never had it jam, but the ones that are more like a needle can. Now with the injector and sauce ready, let's get the brisket. I fill the injector all the way, and then as I inject, I watch for the meat to swell. I inject about every 2 inches until I have fully covered the brisket. So do not use all the sauce. Try and leave about a 1/4 cup to use later. Now with the brisket fully injected, it is time for the grill. I'm going to use my ThermoWorks signals to monitor the brisket. One reason I like this thermometer is it has a micro needle probe that hardly makes a hole and is really easy to use. We preheat the grill to 300 degrees Fahrenheit and set the smoke setting to 6. This grill has a smoke setting that goes from 1 to 10, 10 being the most smoke. Here I spritz the brisket with just water, and you can see it's developing that great mahogany color. The one thing I really like about this grill is it can smoke. I am using a pecan, hickory, and mesquite pellet mix, and it is also generating really good smoke. It does not look any better than this if you're smoking a brisket. One of the advantages of cooking at a higher temperature is the brisket will sometimes avoid the stall that usually happens when cooking at a lower temperature. When the brisket hits 160 degrees Fahrenheit, it is time to wrap. To make the wrapping process easier, I get a large foil pan. I then line the bottom with full-size, heavy-duty foil. When handling the brisket, please use extreme high-temperature gloves. My favorite gloves are the one from Barbecue Dragon, super insulated and machine washable. To keep the moisture in the brisket, wrap the foil like a pocket so the liquid will not drain out. Now we pour the rest of the injection sauce that we saved to give the brisket another umami boost. Get another sheet of foil and now seal up the brisket and leave it in the pan. At this point we are done smoking and we are actually braising the brisket in liquid. Remove as much air as you can and make sure you have a really tight seal. Now it's back to the grill for the last time. Make sure you put the brisket in the same way you took it out. This way you can put the temperature probe in the same place in the point of the brisket. When the brisket hits 205 Fahrenheit, it is time to pull. The brisket should rest for at least an hour, and I like using a Cambro, for the Cambro will keep the brisket hot for at least a couple hours. Also, the Cambro does a great job of saving your cook if your cook hits temperature too fast. So after a 1 hour rest, our brisket is ready to serve. Total cook time including rest was 7 hours and 8 minutes. No, this person is not Santa Claus. It's me, Wiley, but I can tell you, I can tell when people have been naughty or nice, at least with barbecue. There is nothing naughty about this brisket, and you will see it really came out great. Here I am separating the point from the flat. This brisket is oozing juices. Now I'm going to square up the flat so I'm cutting at 90 degrees or against the grain. This brisket really has a good bark, including even on the bottom where the liquid hardened into a crust. As you can see, the brisket is very tender and slices real easy. Because of the injection, there was not a dry spot anywhere, especially the flat. Well, here's the bin test. And now the pull test. Looks good to me. Now the taste test. Perfectly balanced and fully savory taste. Here I'm cutting into the point, and you can just see the juices flowing. Also, the woodwind gave this brisket a great smoke ring. I struggled on should I do burnt ends or just eat it the way it is. Here's the flat on a platter. It just came out great. Bon appetit! If you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Also, we really appreciate you watching.